All right, folks, there's the music. I know I sound a little bit different. Robbie, you're not going to believe it. Well, you are going to believe it because you know what happened here. So, friends, welcome to the What's Right Show. This is our abbreviated on the road program, as promised, Thanksgiving week. I am away from Las Vegas, away from my studio. And normally when I do travel, I have equipment to bring with me that, is of professional grade and quality, all of which I forgot in Vegas. I didn't realize that I didn't have my stuff until I was somewhere over Texas, at which point it was too late to turn the plane around. So here I am, folks, 2 days. We'll have to have these Apple AirPods that don't quite work the same way as a studio microphone. And we'll just have to make it work. So Robbie, by the way, all the stuff has been FedEx to me. It's on its way. It's going to get in sometime on Wednesday. So hopefully Wednesday's show is up to the quality that the audience expects. Sam Rajovsky here, What's Right program on the road. Great to be here with you folks. My email, sam@samandashlaw.com, sam@samandashlaw.com. So I'm glad, by the way, that we're doing a show because the big news today is that Jack Smith dropped the J6 case, officially ending the January 6th case against Trump. This is the one case that was still alive, one of the federal cases that was alive. One thing I have to point out here, just as an attorney, and I'm looking at it here, the actual filing, Jack Smith filing here shows that it has been dropped, but with prejudice. Well, excuse me, without prejudice. So, this case could be resurrected in 4 years when Trump leaves office. Just real fast, if something gets dropped without prejudice, it means you have an opening to bring it back later. You can refile it. So I just want to be clear that, Jack Smith, somewhere in the Democrats' mind is the possibility that this case can come back and be resurrected. I think the chances of that are next to nil. I think, this is basically over. And I guess not the funniest thing, but a lot of Democratic commentators on this are saying exactly what we've all known. They're admitting that this was, that this was an effort to get Trump and that it failed. I mean, the New York Times is literally putting stories out there. Where is it here? Okay, this is an opinion section, New York Times. And this was just right before this news broke. The more uncomfortable truth is that our search for political salvation, primarily through the law, has backfired. So they're admitting, the libs are admitting that they attempted to resurrect themselves politically. Political salvation is the term that they're using. With the law, with lawfare. Quote, to oppose Mr. Trump in his second term, liberals must learn the lesson of this defeat, which is that there is no alternative to persuading our fellow citizens of our beliefs. Yeah, no crap, Sherlock. That's what you should have done in the beginning. You guys, here, this is me. Friends trying to help our Democrat folks out a little bit here. If they had run a campaign the last 4 years, if they had run a political program, right? They've been in power. But obviously every first-term president, Joe Biden being no exception, begins running for re-election the day he takes office. So the entire political program of the Democrats for the last 4 years hasn't been to run on the merits of their policies. It's been all about running against Donald Trump, the felon, Donald Trump, the election denier, Donald Trump, the insurrectionist. And by the way, when the I guess when the persuasion of us didn't work in the first year after Trump left the presidency, that's when all the lawfare began in earnest, all designed to stop Donald Trump. So this has all gone out the window. People are hand wringing. I saw, by the way, Robbie, I love the Joe Walsh tweet. Walsh is the never Trump Republican. He's a Democrat now. That's the truth of it. Just absolutely miserable anti-Trump guy. And he goes, Jack Smith didn't let us down. Tanya Chutkin, speaking of the judge who had this case, well, she let us down a little bit, but really who let us down are the 78 million Americans who voted for a convicted felon. These are the people that really let us down. And they just don't get it. Folks, they don't get it. They do not understand that it was never about anything that they were telling us. It always came down to the economy. It came down to national security, to our borders. The Trump program is what people wanted. And nobody got distracted with any of this stuff. So I'm just delighted that this happened. And my only caveat to what you're seeing in the news is that I suppose in 4 years, the Democrats could come back with this if they regain control over the Department of Justice. And to that end, I think, once Trump's term is over, it'll be very important for us to elect a Republican president to ensure that the next 4 years after this term are not, the Department of Justice is not back in the control of these crazy Democrats. All right. By the way, over the weekend, just before I left town, I had the opportunity to attend here in Las Vegas the Formula One race. Now, yeah, I'm bringing this up. It is interesting. There's some numbers, by the way, of attendance. I went last year, which was the first Formula One race. If you are not here in Vegas, or maybe even are here in Vegas but haven't paid much attention to this, the strip gets shut down. They do a circuit around the strip on Las Vegas Boulevard, and then back around Harmon, Koval, Spring Mountain. It's a cool circuit. Now, what's interesting about this event is last year they got over 300,000 people. So last year the event was pretty well attended. This year, only 139 people were in 139,000 people were in attendance. So about 40%. Not even. It's almost as low as a third of what it was last year. And people are saying there's lots of reasons for it, of course. I think, given that even entry-level tickets are in the hundreds of dollars, I really think that this is an economy thing. I mean, a lot of people I spoke to, and I know people who had gone last year who didn't come this year. I mean, the idea of having a weekend that is essentially, a fun weekend, but having it, thousands of dollars in costs between hotel rooms, tickets to the event, and, meals, entertainment, whatever. It's just people sat it out. And I think people also, this was just after the election. People did not know where the election would go. I predict, the race is gonna do better next year. But there was a complaint here in Las Vegas from some of the drivers that attended the event. And this was hilarious because apparently, according to ESPN, the F1 drivers were complaining about the marijuana smell in Las Vegas. Now, even people that live in Vegas, a lot of times we don't go down to the strip. But the marijuana smell is absolutely out of control in Las Vegas. If you go to the strip, and I catch myself sometimes being there, with my kids, and we're going to dinner somewhere or whatever, we're walking on the strip, and it is just everywhere. And the drivers were Well, they were joking a little bit, but they're concerned that they would fail a drug test because they get drug tested. So they can't have any sort of secondhand marijuana smoke. So, I mean, well, I'm telling you, that was funny. And so that, yes, Verstappen, Max Verstappen, who's the driver for Red Bull, said, he said, I was quite high in the car. It's not ideal because you can smell it while driving. He's right. I drove on the strip earlier this week, and Robbie, I literally was driving behind a guy in a convertible, and he's smoking weed, and he's driving while he's smoking weed, and I can smell it through my AC in my car, or my systems. I'm just unbelievable. Okay, crazy stuff. So Formula One, another test of the economy, a reminder the economy is not as robust as it was 4 years back, even a year ago. People are feeling the economic pinch. And in spite of everybody telling us for the past 100+ days that the economy is hunky-dory, everything's good, not so much the case. Now, I want to, friends, and I know here, forgive me if you're just sort of figuring out what's going on here. Again, I apologize for the sound. And I know that by the way, if you're subscribing to the podcast and you're listening to the audio, we also on Twitter, on X, at What's Right Show, on Twitter, at What's Right Show, and I'll retweet it on at What's Right Sam, which is my account on Twitter. We'll have the video of me in my hotel room here on the road, in an undisclosed location, somewhere out there. I am here for the week for Thanksgiving, so forgive me. I'll have all my equipment hopefully by Wednesday, so this will sound a little bit better on Wednesday when we do this properly. But listen, I wanted to, Robbie, get into this story. I don't know if you saw the Mexican president. Mexico has had a new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, who has taken, well, she's a left-wing politician in Mexico, and she, had a call with Trump, of course, when Trump won the election, and the call was fine. It was cordial, but Trump right away in the call took up the issue of the border, and he also mentioned, of course, tariffs, because he feels that the manufacturing moving to Mexico is harming the U.S. economy. We've heard all of this before. Now, after the call, the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, got up and she held a press conference. And this press conference, folks, I'm going to give you my impression of it. I mean, it was, well, the New York Times called it defiant. They liked it. They thought Claudia Sheinbaum was one of these brave world leaders that was sticking it to Donald Trump. Well, it didn't last long. She's starting to fold. And the most hilarious part about this is buried deep in a Gateway Pundit article. And I'll tell you what it is. There's a guy named Montes de Oca, and he is Rodrigo Montes de Oca on Fox News. He's a Baker Institute scholar, and he's explaining that there's a shift in reaction in Mexico by Claudia Sheinbaum and others to Trump, because Trump flat out threatened them to release information that he has through our intelligence sources about the closeness with which Mexico, the authorities in Mexico, are cooperating with the cartels. Quote, this is why Trump went so far as to say during the campaign that if Mexico did not cooperate on these issues, Trump, would make public the U.S. government's intelligence information on politicians in Mexico who are related to drug cartels. This is great. This is how you negotiate, right? Everybody says, how are you going to get Mexico to pay for the wall? Well, setting aside the terrorist issue, how are you even going to get Mexico, for example, to finally step up their, security efforts on their side of the border? Because I think for the last 4 years, Mexico has been all too willing to allow people to cross through their country and go into the U.S. They haven't stopped it because nobody in our government made any efforts to put any kind of pressure on them to do so. Well, now things are changing, and there's literally a new sheriff in town coming on the 20th of next month. Of January. So it's all coming together. So it's hilarious. So apparently Trump reiterated his threats in his phone call with the president of Mexico and said, "Hey, listen, toots, if you don't help me secure the southern border, the U.S.-Mexico border, not only am I going to hit you with tariffs, but I'm also going to tell the world how deep in bed you are with the drug cartels." Oh, well, it certainly got there. It is. No, Rob, you're exactly right. It's a non-traditional leverage point. It's free. It doesn't cost us taxpayers anything. There's no missiles that got sent. There's no military deployed. It's words. And Trump can accomplish more with words than the administration has achieved, in the last 4 years, expending enormous amount of resources. So there's no question about it. By the way, speaking of words, did you see this? That there is now on American Movie Classics. I guess you have an app you can subscribe and get movies. American Movie Classics, Goodfellas. Goodfellas has the movie, the gangster movie, a mafia movie. Great movie, by the way. It has a trigger warning. This film, I've got it right here. This film includes language and or, wait for this, Robbie, cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some viewers. Folks, I'm going to tell you, whatever ideology this is, I'm against it. How did we get from a movie like Goodfellas winning accolades and awards, being critically acclaimed, right? Being a part of certainly, me growing up, a part of my awareness, cultural awareness, to now being, denigrated with this kind of nonsense. So, put this here, and Robbie's saying if they put the same disclaimer on Schindler's List. No, certainly not. I don't know. I would have to look at what AMC is doing for that. That's something for us to look at. But no, the real issue to me is, my goodness, like you have movies that, I'm trying to think of. They use nasty words. They call each other, slurs, I suppose, in the movie. A lot of cultural stereotypes. Yes, they refer to certain minority groups in a way that would give modern leftists the vapors. But it's just the goalposts have moved so far out. And I think, by the way, I think people are sick of this. I think they're really sick of it, and I think it's not going to happen. And this is why, by the way, we're going to take just a quick break here. I want to play, I meant to do this last week, this new ad for Jaguar. Have you seen it? Well, I'll play it for you. The best thing about video is now I'll describe what's in it if you're just listening to audio on the podcast. If you're on Twitter, on X, at What's Right Show, and you can find the this episode in video form. Okay, Sam Rajovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT, the What's Right show. Will be back in just a moment.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Rajovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Okay, folks, I've been meaning to talk about this now for a little bit. Last week, Jaguar, the car company, they came out with a new ad. They've got an enterprising young director of marketing. And this guy's name is Santino Pietrasanti. He lives in Great Britain. He's gay, kind of an activist out there, participates in a lot of DEI, pride, women in engineering, all this stuff, okay? And this ad that came out from Jag has been panned as what are they calling it? They're saying it's basically, it's Bud Light 2.0. That's what they're saying. Of course, Bud Light, committed brand suicide when they did a partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. We know how well that went. So, now because we have video, and if you're listening on the podcast, again, apologies for the audio. We'll get that fixed in a day or two here. But I can show you on Twitter, on X, I can play the ad, because it's really the visual of this ad, Robbie, that is terrible. There's no words. It's music, and then the ad. Here is the brand new Jaguar ad. By the way, notice there's not even a freaking car in this ad. What's this? Okay. Is that a child? Okay, that's a freak. Okay, a man in a dress. They're sitting on like on a Mars scape. Okay, there's Jaguar. That's it. It's a bunch of people wearing a bunch of different colors, dressed androgynously. Right. And there's no car in it. There's no car. By the way, I'm a car guy. I have loved cars ever since I was a little kid. When I was young in the 80s, to me, Jaguar was one of the most coveted, iconic brands. And Robbie, by the way, when you and I were kids, the XJ6 was the last Jaguar. A little bit of nerd trivia here. Last Jaguar that was designed by the founder of Jaguar, Sir William Lyons. And it's, if you remember in the 80s, there was that last Jaguar, very classic looking with the perfectly round headlights, lots of chrome, a beautiful car. It didn't work really well, right? It had lots of problems. It was kind of, British, engineering, not always, the best, not known for their their electrical systems, but the car was stunning, iconic. And it's been reduced to this. I think Jags now are pretty plastic looking and not as beautiful as they once were. And the marketing people want to rebrand it as some sort of trans pastiche. And this is a bad idea. By the way, jokesters, and this is great, again, because I can show you this video. People are making fun of this and using AI are demonstrating what the ad should have been if they were going to improve it. Please enjoy this. They've got an actual Jaguar, the animal, the cat, as the trannies are all sitting there on the rock, they've got the Jaguar attacking them, and they're all running amok. Friends, I think this ad shows you that the Europeans, have not yet reached the zenith of absurdity the way that we have here. Because this woke stuff in the US, I think, officially has jumped the shark, right? It's over. It doesn't have the same allure that it once did. And so where are we at? We've stared this political correctness down. We've reelected Donald Trump. And the Europeans are still doubling down on this insanity, going, oh, I know, we're going to make a car ad about strangely, sexually androgynous people who are multi-ethnic and, genderqueer, right? Because that is really going to make people go, you know what, I think, I'm going to buy a Jag instead of a Mercedes. I'm going to spend $90,000 on this car because DEI. That's a problem, though. In Britain, they're literally putting people in prison who make any criticism. In Great Britain, for what I said about this ad right now, I could be arrested for that. I mean, let that sink in. So, friends, I'll be back again tomorrow with some updates. We'll go through Trump's cabinet. We'll do we're figuring this out, What's Right show on the road. Forgive the audio again. We're going to get that fixed hopefully by Wednesday. All right, friends, keep the faith. Be strong out there. We got this. And I will see you tomorrow.